So often I'm inspired by the works of others, and Anthony Norville's certainly been a huge influence. And in one of his books recently, I'll try to put it in the comments listed below if you're interested, but he was talking about the blueprint of destiny versus your map to fate, right? And I talk about that a lot because to me, I feel like the astrological wheel, the geographical moment where you took your breath and, the time, that gives you a snapshot of exactly where the stars were in the sky. It's what makes up your personality. And to me, that's fate. But destiny we have in our hands. And now sometimes people use those words interchangeably, but I wanted to read first a little quote he put in this book. So, quote, "Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not something to be waited for. It is something to be achieved. You must not sit back and wait for it to bring you good fortune. You must work with the mental and the physical equipment God gave you to create the destiny that you desire. You must have the courage to face life, to dream big dreams, and to do important things." Now, William James Bryan said that, right? And that you must have the patience to wait until your dreams are mature, until the decisions that you've made are, right? And he talks about this tapestry, which I've seen myself in my near-death experience. So, and then he begins talking about how the mind is like the loom, and it weaves the fabric of this tapestry known as the universe in which we live. And if you've ever heard me talk anything about my near-death, or you've heard me talk about any of those things on any of the podcasts, you've heard me make mention of that great tapestry. But he goes on to talk about answering these 5 questions, which are the beginning of all knowledge. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that beginning of all knowledge. What does that mean, and what can we do? What steps can we take to know ourselves in the very best and deepest and widest way that we possibly can? Who did we come to this earth to be? Why did we choose to come to this planet and express ourselves in this way? And the person that is you, and the person that is me, and the plant that is the plant, and the stone that is the stone. Why did any of these, whether you consider them conscious or not, for a moment consider maybe they are, why did they choose to have this experience? To know thyself is the beginning of all knowledge. Know thyself. This was printed on every ancient Egyptian temple that we know of. And for some reason, there were some people that wanted to get rid of that because it was one of the main things that that whoever the leaders are kept trying to erase. So think of 5 questions, and the first question you got to answer is, what do you really want with your life? What do you really want in life? And let's even go further with that one, because you can break that one down into even smaller bits and examine it, and trust me, you need to. If you really are serious about knowing how to manifest what you want in life, you have to answer these questions first. So, what is good for me? That's considered part of that question, number 1. What's good for me? Because what I really want and what's good for me might be 2 different things. So we're checking for our congruency here. What are the true permanent values in life? That's what you have to ask in order to ask what you really want. You have to be able to answer that. What are the true permanent values in life. And finally, you've got to ask, what is the true purpose of my own life? Right? So all of those things help you figure out what is it that you really want in life. And that's just question one. And the second question would be, why do you want it so bad? What about it makes you want it so bad? And then after you answer that question, number 3, how do you go about obtaining your heart's desire? How do you go about obtaining it? Fourth question is, where can you find the right conditions for achieving your destiny? Where can you find the right conditions? Do you need to find a network of people, a hub, your soul tribe? Those are the places where you're going to find people who support you in being able to achieve your destiny. And that's who you need to gather to you. And that's one of the ways that you go about attaining it, right? So that's one thing you can check off your list. The final question is number 5, and that's, who will help you or aid you in attaining your goal? Because no man is an island. We can't all achieve everything by ourselves. Everybody needs a hand to hold on to, right? Everybody needs somebody that they can go, hey, can you give me a little boost here so I can see just 1 inch higher than I can see now? Maybe somebody needs emotional support, right? Maybe you yourself need it. And sometimes we've got to figure that out, right? It can be a minefield because we have boundaries that we need to set up for our own protection and our best interests and be able to maintain those rules, right? And we've got to be able to have common sense to get through life. So it becomes about, knowing yourself really becomes about what you're naturally fitted for in life. And that's what the great mystery schools are all about. And so if you're interested in really learning what SoulFire Multiversity is about, well, this is it. And this is what I present to you, is a silver platter full of the different mystery schools and ancient wisdom tools that have been preserved and uncovered in many cases by those that have gone on before us that still choose to communicate. So I invite you to take advantage of those things and learn all about them and allow it, instead of just being heart knowledge, instead of being head knowledge, just knowledge you carry with you in your mind. Oh no, this is knowledge that until it becomes an experience and it doesn't become heart knowledge. And a head full of knowledge doesn't do you any good unless it has been pulled through the heart's perspective. That's called wisdom. That's being a sage. And nobody said that was the easiest road. It is pretty difficult, but it's the most rewarding. And the treasures that wait for you on the other side. As somebody who's been through a ridiculous amount of trauma, and even on my worst days, I can honestly say that I would not trade it. I would not trade it for anything. I've worked really hard to become the person that I am, and I love her, and I want you to feel the same about yourself. I want you to actually feel like, you know what, I'm proud of the person who I am. I've worked very hard to become a congruent person, a truthful person, a compassionate person, a peace and freedom loving person. If those are things that you can honestly say within your heart, and that you want the best for all people, even if you don't understand their way of being, but you allow them to live because they allow you to live in peace and harmony, that to me is ultra balanced life. And that's what we need more of on this planet, so that we're not in such a polarized frame. in a state. And we can get back to being the beings of light that we are. And we did come here to be co-creators, but we can't create. If human beings are if they're operating from their fear, and they're so fearful that they can't even survive, not only can they not even work together, they're constantly looking at each other like they're the enemy. How can you build any kind of relationships or friendships or even a network of trust with people if you think everyone is the enemy? So I urge you to open your eyes and rise above that and get to understand that the real game is rising above, through, and out of the duality. Because even though we still live in the 3D realms, it is our job to learn how to transcend out of that into the oneness. We're meant for that. You are meant for that. You are a luminous being of light, a sovereign being. And no one can take that away from you unless you choose to give it up. So, take your power back without permission and fall from their graces into your truth. And I will see you on the flip side.